Welcome back to Insights. Today we're talking about something every leader and every team member will face sooner or later: the courage to speak up. When we think about courage, we often picture grand, dramatic gestures. But more often, courage shows up in ordinary moments. The times when silence feels safer, but speaking makes all the difference. Think about this. During the 2023 NFL season, Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa openly addressed his concussion history. In a culture that often pressures athletes to stay quiet, his decision to speak sparked a broader conversation across the league about player safety, medical protocols, and long-term health. That choice wasn't easy, and it wasn't without risk, but it created a significant shift. Now let's translate that to business. How many times do we feel the same pressure? The pressure to tough it out, to stay quiet, to let something slide, even when we know raising a concern or voicing an idea could change the outcome. Here's the truth: silence isn't neutral. Silence has a cost. It can cost innovation, trust, and progress. And finding the courage to speak up is often what separates organizations that stagnate from those that thrive. So how do we build that courage? Let me walk you through 5 ways. The first is to anchor yourself to values, not comfort. When something clashes with your principles or the values of your organization, courage means asking, which principle is at stake here? That simple question shifts the focus from, will this make me uncomfortable, to, what's the right thing to do? Integrity becomes the compass. And when values guide you, the fear of discomfort becomes easier to push aside. The second way is to reframe risk as responsibility. Most of us hesitate to speak up because we fear the risk. What will people think? Will it hurt my reputation? However, the greater danger often lies in remaining silent. When you don't raise the concern, don't share the risk. Don't call out the mistake. You leave your team or your organization exposed. Try flipping the question. Instead of asking, what happens if I speak? Ask, what happens if I don't? That shift reframes speaking up as a responsibility, not just a choice. The third is to share ideas even if they disrupt. Some of the most significant breakthroughs begin as inconvenient or even unpopular suggestions. Maybe it's a new product idea that challenges tradition, or a process improvement that questions the status quo. People rarely regret sharing an idea. They regret holding it back. Courage in this case isn't about being right every time. It's about being willing to contribute. Knowing your voice could spark something better. The fourth way is to step in when fairness or respect is threatened. These are often the most uncomfortable moments. When someone is excluded, dismissed, or disrespected, many people feel the tension, but wait for someone else to act. That's when leadership, formal or informal, matters most. Stepping in signals that respect isn't optional and that everyone has a voice. It takes courage in the moment, but it builds a culture that lasts. And the fifth way is to treat feedback as a gift, not a risk. Feedback fuels growth, but it requires bravery on both sides. As a giver, it means being candid and constructive, even when the conversation feels awkward. As a receiver, it means being open and willing to reflect without getting defensive. Courage here is about valuing the long-term benefit over the short-term discomfort. Here's the bottom line. Courage to speak up doesn't always look dramatic. More often, it's small, intentional actions that protect values, spark innovation, or support others. These are the moments where organizations either strengthen or weaken. So let me leave you with a couple of questions. Where have you stayed quiet but later wished you hadn't? And what values guide you when you're deciding whether or not to speak? If you'd like to explore this more deeply, how to know when to speak, how to do it effectively, and how to help your team build the same courage, reach out for a conversation. Together, we'll turn courage into everyday leadership. Until next time, continue to empower yourself and others to achieve more and make a difference.